All right, this is the official welcome to the fourth and final Women in Global Business Exporting Seminar. My name is Susan Gates. I am the co-founder of the TheWMarketplace, and we have partnered with the U.S. Commercial Service to bring you this 4-part seminar. This is the fourth and final. It's been really fun to see the numbers of attendees roll in. We've had a lot of registrations. It's been really great to see all of the interest around this important topic. So today we're going to be focusing on finding international customers, and we have some amazing panelists who you're going to be hearing from later with their own experience in both helping provide that support and benefiting from that support. So it's going to be a really great conversation. But before that, I am just going to give you a couple of minutes of introduction to the TheWMarketplace. Lisa, if you don't mind moving on to the next slide, please. Again, my name is Susan Gates, and I'm the co-founder of the TheWMarketplace. We are a brand new company. We were founded in the spring of 2020 after seeing the disproportionate impact of the pandemic on women, combined with the increase in online shopping and the desire for shoppers to have an alternative place to shop that also aligns with their values. So our answer to all of those combined forces is what you're seeing on the screen now. This is the homepage of the TheWMarketplace from actually a couple of weeks ago. Things have changed since then, but we're an e-commerce marketplace for consumers looking for a place to shop from women entrepreneurs, and we're a new and supportive platform for women-owned businesses to grow and thrive. As of today, we've had over 500 businesses join us. So that's been in the last 18 months, which has been crazy and fun. And we have over 4,000 products and services that are available to purchase, or if you want to connect with a woman professional service provider, there are ways to do that as well. And next slide, please. And here's just a little glimpse of our community as of probably 2 months ago. Actually, we have intentionally recruited sellers that represent the landscape of businesses across the US. We provide those sellers the opportunity to identify with one or more community, which also allows shoppers to support those communities that they resonate with. So you can see that we have intentionally created a business that represents the beautiful diversity of American business owners and women entrepreneurs. Next slide, please, Lisa. So why are we working with the U.S. Commercial Service? Well, there are a couple of reasons. And number one, it is just absolutely our mission. We know that exporting is one way that women's businesses can grow and thrive, even if you're a small business. And we have heard that story over and over again over the last 4 weeks. We've had some companies who have literally started their business in the last year and who are already exporting and have diversified their revenue stream using international business as one method. So we know that this is possible as long as you have the information that you need. It's also core to our mission to provide practical and useful information to women entrepreneurs and to reveal all of the resources to help them grow, like the commercial service. And we also know that there are not a lot of examples of large, successful women-owned businesses. And we want to provide some inspiration to entrepreneurs who, like us, have visions of being a big company. And expanding your vision outside of the US is another way to get there. Next slide, please. So with that vision in mind, I'd like to invite those of you who may be looking for another sales channel or who are thinking about pivoting your business online to consider joining the TheWMarketplace. And if that's not the right move for you right now, I'd like to also invite you to shop and support other women entrepreneurs. There's a lot of great reasons to shop coming up. There's Easter and Mother's Day and all sorts of great things. And we have some amazing and beautiful products for you to check out. So next slide. So thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email is below. Feel free to email me. And with that, I am going to turn this over to Lisa to introduce the U.S. Commercial Service and to our panelists. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, Susan. For those who weren't with us for the first 3 sessions, I'm Lisa White, and I'm a Foreign Commercial Service Officer at the U.S. Commercial Service Seattle office, which provides services across the state of Washington. The U.S. Commercial Service is the International Trade Administration's export arm, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. And we are delighted to be co-hosting this event with the TheWMarketplace today. As you just heard from Susan, our missions are truly aligned, and we're really proud to be working together, not just on this series, but also beyond, to help women who are in and women who aspire to be in global business. So why are we here today? Research shows that companies who export grow faster, employ more staff, withstand fluctuating sales cycles more successfully, and stay in business longer. The world is full of potential customers, and we want to help you reach them. In fact, that's exactly the topic we'll be diving into today. How do you find international customers? So just a little bit more about our agency. So my agency's mission is to grow US exports, which in turn increases US jobs. And our federal agency really is global. Not only do we have over 100 offices across the United States, but we work in more than 70 countries with staff based out of US embassies and consulates all around the world. Because we work to support businesses, we really need to be action-oriented to help you make international deals. So we accomplish this through offering a variety of services. We offer one-on-one export counseling. We can actually help you to identify the next international market opportunity for your products and services. We also have access to powerful market research databases, and we, as I said, employ people all around the world who can provide you with the newest market intelligence, which will help you to determine which market to pursue next. We also offer business matchmaking. We can actually set you up with one-on-one meetings with potential buyers and distributors all around the world. And in certain circumstances, through commercial diplomacy, we can leverage our authority as the US government to advocate for your business interests to help you to overcome an international trade barrier. So over the course of the last 2 years, a lot of us have transitioned to working from home and working remotely. And although we are working remotely, I just wanted to take a few moments to highlight that we really have adapted all of our services to fully serve you no matter where you are. So virtual services include on-demand market research, virtual matchmaking services, vetting services for potential buyers, innovative online programs, and even a custom website analysis program that will deep dive into your own business website to help you determine if you're truly attracting international customers online. And that's actually something we went into a lot of detail in the last session called Digital Marketing Strategy last week. You can revisit the slides in the recording, or you can read more about these services at trade.gov/virtual-services. So this is our office contact information for Washington State. As you can see here, each of us serves a different industry sector. And I know we have people all around the US who are on the call with us today. So if you're not from Washington State, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner there a link to connect with your local international trade specialist. And if you're having any trouble reaching the right person, please reach out to me and I'm happy to put you in touch with your correct trade specialist. I will be sending this deck out after the presentation, so everyone will have access to this information. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to the Director of the U.S. Commercial Service Seattle, Washington office, Diane Mooney, who will be moderating our conversation today.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everybody. As Lisa said, I'm Diane Mooney. I'm the director of our services here in the state of Washington, but there is one of me and one of them all over the country. And if you are not here in the state of Washington, we look forward to connecting you with the appropriate office and the appropriate international trade specialist with whom you can work. It's really exciting to be wrapping up our 4-port series today, highlighting both a client of the U.S. Commercial Service here in Seattle and also one of our commercial specialists overseas. So with that, I'd like to invite Kelly and Macarena to also turn on their cameras and unmute themselves, and we're going to partake in a moderated session here that really highlights how a U.S. company can work with our global network to increase their exports and find their international customers. So good morning, Kelly, and good morning, Macarena from Santiago. It's so good to have you guys both here. Kelly, I'm going to start with you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about Rite in the Rain, your company and your role there, and a little bit about your international presence?
Absolutely. Good morning, Diane, and good morning, Macarena. It's wonderful to see you again. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kelly Bachelor. I work for a company called Rite in the Rain. So we manufacture waterproof notebooks, paper. It's all very sustainable, recyclable, and our primary industries are government. We also do construction, agriculture, outdoor, and of course, all kinds of educational opportunities as well. And currently we are represented in over 80 different countries globally. I am the international sales manager, so I'm responsible for all of those countries and all of those opportunities. So we are well represented through a variety of distribution partners, direct business, as well as some third-party representatives.
And Kelly, if I remember correctly, you onboarded there really early in the pandemic or shortly before the pandemic. Is that correct?
Very beginning of the pandemic. I began in March of 2020. An interesting
just
ride.
like the TheWMarketplace. So that's I
Yes.
love that because many people have started new jobs in the pandemic and probably many people never been to an office or anything. So thank you, Macarena. I'm going to turn it over to you now. Macarena is one of our commercial specialists, our commercial service colleagues that we have around the world. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about where you work and your role, and then the types of companies or clients that you work with?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Macarena Marin. I work in the commercial service in Santiago, Chile. I've been with the commercial service for 25 years. So I've worked with all kinds of companies, especially small and medium-sized companies. The thing that we do daily is counseling, a lot of counseling to US and local companies. Market reports, market intelligence reports, like Lisa mentioned, follow key trends in the industry that we cover. We divided the industries among us. We are 5 to 6 commercial specialists in Chile. So I cover some super fun industry like cosmetics, and some of them not so fun, like IT, and jewelry, consumer goods, not anymore, but printing and graphics and other kind of industry.
Thank you. And we're very grateful to Macarena for participating today, because at the very end of this, she gets on a call, and on a Monday, she welcomes a trade mission to Santiago. And that is a big deal when we are just getting back to, well, not we're getting back to, we're sort of starting up our offices around the world. And this is a very big deal. So thank you for being here today and participating in our session on finding international customers. So Kelly, I understand that you and Macarena worked together on one of our services in Chile. And could you walk us through the process of determining that you wanted to find an international customer in Chile, and how you ended up working with Macarena? That's for
Yes,
Kelly.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been an amazing process altogether. You know, I first reached out to some of the trade departments and commercial services because I was looking for some answers on how to effectively export to Canada. And from there, I was connected to Alex Machentas. I'm not sure if I pronounced her name correctly, but she's been amazing. She's the commercial services officer for consumer goods, which is where we fall. She and I have had lengthy conversations about some great opportunities. And for myself, Latin America and South America have been good markets for me. We just don't have a huge presence there. So I thought it would be a nice place to start for some expansion opportunities. And Alex, from that point, connected me with Macarena and her team, and she took it from that point.
The rest is history. Macarena, maybe you could share with us what kind of a service did you work on with Rite in the Rain and with Kelly? And when you meet an experienced client or a company like Kelly, what is your process for advising them on what the U.S. commercial service product would be appropriate for them?
Okay, in the case of Kelly, I don't know if to mention the products that we offer first for a new to market, because in the case of Kelly, it was a new to market company. I always suggest an IMC, an industry market tech, that gives you the opportunity to know a little bit more about the market and go to different local companies to have some input from them about the products. So this is to help new to market companies. We also offer all kind of products. Some contact lists. A contact list is also a good product to start. But the contact list is when we provide just contact names, and then the company has to reach out individually. So sometimes local contacts feel more comfortable to be reached out by the embassy in the name of the company, not like a company, an unknown company. So, yeah. So the thing that we talked at the beginning with the first conference call with Kelly, it's the experience they have, the knowledge they have about the market. I always advise to get to know something about the local market they plan to enter, because not all the markets are good for all the products. And yeah, that's the service that we did for Kelly.
And I think it's important to note too that for any U.S. company who is joining us today, what Macarena has described is really what we try to do with anybody that we interact with. We will set up a call with you with your local industry specialist in country. That person, like Macarena, could describe the local market and tell you what you're up against. Maybe there's some import restrictions, like in refurbished medical equipment, for example, things you might not think about, that they can give you the local landscape. Maybe your product is the wrong color for the local market, or the wrong taste, or something like that. So she mentioned the initial market check, which is a really great tool to even decide if you want to move forward with finding a market. And contact list she mentioned as well, which the embassy provides an important role. Our embassies and consulates as interlocutors for U.S. companies with local businesses. Sometimes it's better if Macarena is discussing something with a local company as opposed to Kelly, and making those connections and really putting that imprimatur of the U.S. government upon the process. So I'm always surprised and delighted at the important role the U.S. government plays overseas, and that is thanks to people like Macarena.
Yeah,
so
and if I can interrupt, the conference call, the initial conference call is the most important thing about the service, because you get to know the U.S. company, their objective, their prior export experience, and all kind of information that's very useful to us.
Right, a deep dive, as you will. And when you find then an experienced company, are there other things then that you recommend? I know on Lisa's slide we had some other services, our Gold Key service or a partner search. Are there any of those that you want to talk about as well?
Yes, the Gold Key service, I think the name Gold says it all, because it's we get up to set up up to 5 appointments per day. The U.S. company comes to the country. We provide first with a big list of companies that should be the right contact for the U.S. company, and they select some of them to reach out to schedule appointments. And nothing replaces the face-to-face meeting, I think. So that's the best option after pandemic.
Yes.
During the pandemic, we've been doing in IPS, the International Partner Search, yes, with virtual introduction, because now people are more open to have virtual introductions. So that's a good option also for a more experienced company, maybe.
Right. And I just have to drop this in because I have a microphone right now. The Gold Key service is absolutely the favorite thing that we do, I think, in our offices overseas. And when we are back to more face-to-face interactions, I think Macarena nailed it when she said there really is no replacing that face-to-face interactions. And in some markets, that is so critically important. So it will be nice to get back to that.
Yes, and it's also important for the U.S. companies to visit the local compass facilities. It's very good because sometimes on paper, the company can say whatever they want. So it's very good to know the people and know the facilities.
And Susan, I did see your question pop up in the chat. I think it's important to know that as a U.S. government agency, we operate on a cost recovery basis for our products and services overseas. I don't want to derail our conversation by talking about how the STEP grants can help pay for those and other things, and maybe we can get to that later if we have time. But there is a fee for our overseas services, and honestly, I can't even, at this point, it's been so long since I've done one, I can't even remember how much we're charging overseas now. Maybe Lisa can drop that into the chat for me. But yeah, we do have a cost recovery mandate from the US government to charge for our services. These are nominal fees, by the way. These are not expensive fees, and in many
Yes.
cases, you can get them reimbursed through the
And it
state
depends
export
on the
promotion.
size of the company.
Yes,
Yeah, and it depends
absolutely.
on the size.
Yeah, small and
That's
medium-sized
good to know
companies,
also.
yes, have a smaller rate for the small and medium-sized companies. So, Kelly, you probably even know how much some of our things cost, and I apologize, everybody. Kelly, I know you've worked with the U.S. Commercial Service in other countries as well as in Chile. So, maybe you can share what other services you've engaged in, and also I know you're recently back from a trade mission in Germany, for example, which had really nothing to do with us, but I know that you have a long history with working with us and some of our offices overseas. So if you wouldn't mind sharing what you are comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear from you on that.
Absolutely. You know, it's honestly been instrumental to my success. It's the insight I get alone just from talking to Alex and kind of putting our brains together to determine the best markets to look at. There's also some of the tools that Lisa discussed, that they have software that can help you identify based on your product code where the highest opportunities will lie for you, or where the highest income for your product is going to be. So I've participated in some of those, and I've actually done market checks in quite a few different markets. So Chile was a big success for me. We got a lot of great leads from that. I've also done some actual partner searches. So we've done one in Canada, Germany. We also conducted a few that we determined the market wasn't quite the right fit for us, which I think Macarena pointed out as well. So the experts in these countries are invaluable, and it's going to take a whole team for you to grow, and this is your team right here. So, you know, working with this team has been instrumental to my success, like I said. So a couple of those markets that we weren't quite as positive for were going to be the Ukraine. You know, we did start looking into Russia prior, so that's a great example of how sometimes things just fall through and the world changes every day. But Alex was so great in helping navigate that. And then we've also looked at Brazil right now and the Philippines. So possibilities are truly endless. And I have a couple active international market checks going right now, and some former partner searches that resulted in some great contacts as well.
Oh, and that's fantastic. I do know when you started working with us, and since you mentioned Russia, it was interesting because I think Kelly's inquiry came in right at the time that we were closing our offices in Russia due just to the political global landscape. And we were not planning on closing those offices. These things come up, just like the war in Ukraine. And that was, you know, you had made some progress, and then all of that comes to a screeching halt. And that does happen sometimes when we are exporting. So I think just underscoring your comment about, you know, this is your team and we can help you, and leveraging that important information that we can give to you from the people like Macarena and everybody overseas. Just sticking with you for a minute, Kelly, can you share with the audience how your business has changed or grown since you've expanded your international sales?
Absolutely. It's been something I'm very proud of. For the finish of 2021, I was up 25% over prior year, and that's 30% over 2019 to give even more perspective. So just having this extended team to work with, and of course, some of that's been my own grassroots, but truly it's as though I have an extended sales team since I'm by myself and I haven't been able to travel. Germany was my first opportunity to leave the country, and it was 50% down at that specific trade show due to the conflict. But I did actually get the chance to meet one of the commercial officers who works out of Germany. So I've gotten a one face-to-face, and it was a fantastic touch base point. And just since it was brought up, if you guys are concerned about the costing, it is extremely reasonable in comparison to hiring a third-party agent. It's it's so much more economical for us small businesses that have budgets to meet all the time. And Diane also touched a little bit on the STEP grant. So I've taken advantage of the STEP grant. It's the most amazing funding program you could ever ask for. So I would highly advise you guys pursue that avenue and talk to your commercial specialist about that option as well.
Thank you for elaborating a little bit on the STEP grant as well. And I haven't had a chance to check the chat yet, but Lisa usually will put in some information about the STEP grant program. Kelly is very lucky to be in the state of Washington here with us, where we do grant up to $10,000 per fiscal year for Washington State small and medium-sized businesses to grow their international sales. And companies can use our STEP grant up to 3 times. Every state operates their own STEP grant a little differently, and some places are very similar to how Washington State does theirs, but I cannot speak to all of them. These are reimbursable grants, and they have been very helpful for overseas trips and gold key services or partner searches like Macarena mentioned, trade missions, trade shows, and even doing the deep dive on a website analysis to see if your company has a website that is optimized for international. I did just see that Lisa put it in the STEP grant. The STEP grant information into the chat. And again, I think one of the takeaways from our event today is there is no wrong door, and we would like to make sure that if you need information, Lisa or I can get you to the appropriate place. So Macarena, I'm going to come back to you now. Oops, and it sounds like you have something going on there, a telephone ringing or some sort of an alarm, which I hope is not that.
They are testing the alarm system.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. This is great. This is, I mean, honestly, it's really how these events work out. I have worked in many of our embassies around the world. I've been lucky to experience these experiences that Macarena is experiencing. So once it's quiet, it might be now, I will ask you your question. Okay, if all is well with you now, Macarena, I'll come back to you. And we've heard the services you recommend for new to market businesses, but what service would you recommend for a US client who's received an inquiry sort of out of the blue as a surprise, and they're not sure if this is a legitimate company or not? Can you discuss our due diligence process a little bit?
Yes, of course.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. If we want to pause, I can come back to you when the alarm is over.
No, I think, no, if you can hear me, I can talk. I don't mind. Well, we always recommend the international company profile. We do the due diligence on tentative export partner, potential export partner for the US company. We contact the local company, we visit their offices, we look for all the information, the importers that they've been working with, the customers. We also solicit references on partners and banks. So we do a report for the US company, and then the US company can decide if they're willing to work with that company. And this is a very good service, I think, we provide. Well, all of them are good services.
Yeah, so Macarena discussed our international company profile, which is our due diligence product. So those of you, see, now I'm going to have my phone ringing, but I won't have a special alarm like you did. Let's see, it's a deep dive into, it's a due diligence product that does a financial analysis about the company you're inquiring about. And as she mentioned, they visit the company, they check the references. I have used this product on behalf of my Washington State companies a number of times, and I am always astounded at the amount of information that you are able to come up with on this international company profile. And for those of you who need to perform financial due diligence for any federal contracts you might have, or Ex-Im Bank sometimes requires some financial analysis, then this is also would be applicable to that situation if you need that. So those, again, those financial reports are provided by our embassies and consulates overseas, and they are a deep dive, a financial due diligence product that really is complementary to other due diligence you might be performing, because we never want you to get an out of the blue inquiry and then send something, because those stories don't always end well. And we have also seen the other side of that in our offices. And I'm sure Macarena has also been on the receiving end of trying to undo something for a US company.
Yes, yes, of course. And unfortunately, we cannot do very much with that when that happens. So it's a shame. Yes.
Absolutely. And we do not mind an email coming to us. Anybody in my office does not mind receiving your inquiry saying, hey, I got this, is it legitimate? And in some cases, we can tell you right away, no, it's not, because we've seen the same thing over and over again. In other situations, we might have to do a little bit more digging for you. So it's just good to ask if you are really wondering if it's legitimate or not. Kelly, I'm going to turn this back over to you. And I know we've talked before. Maybe you could share with us what have been some of the most surprising things that you've learned about exporting. And can you share a tough lesson that you've learned over the course of growing your international sales?
Absolutely. So surprises never end. I mean, you have to just bear in mind that the entire world, every single country has its own nuances, its own challenges. And, you know, sometimes it's not what you expect. One of our biggest customers is in Australia. Their weather's dry, they have very little rain. So you just don't know, and you don't want to make assumptions, you know. It's been such an adventure. And of course, having everything be virtual has been a huge challenge. Our brand is very much we need to see it, feel it, touch it. So it's been interesting learning how to navigate that arena. And then of course, every country has its own trade requirements. They have their own taxation requirements. They have their own import requirements. So just keep in mind that you want to treat every country differently. You can't go into it like you're just pitching to a new account in the United States. But I'd also like to point out most of my business is business to business. So I don't sell direct to consumer. I'm sure that's a little bit different for a lot of you. And again, your commercial trade specialist would be your absolutely best resource there. And then challenge-wise, you know, I mentioned the Russia situation. It was just very sad. I mean, the gal I was working with originally worked with commercial services. She had to start her own company to continue to help me, and then everything just blew up. And that's unfortunately how it goes sometimes. In another instance, I had all my ducks in a row with a new French distributor. Everything was fantastic. They had their new order placed with us. They had made a payment. He turns around and says, there's no French on your packaging. We can't sell your product. And we had been speaking for 6 months. So these things can happen, and it takes a little longer. Everything's a little slower. Everything's a little more complicated, but it's so worth it to expose the world to your fantastic products.
I love that. The packaging, that is an inquiry we field very often, not just for France, but certainly for Canada. That's very common, where you need to have your packages in French as well. So that is something that our small and medium-sized businesses need to be aware of before they enter any market, not just the French language, but many markets require local languages as well. Our second session that we did in our 4-part series was on pricing for export. And we had a number of really great examples shared with us of when pricing for export didn't work out very well, and ways that companies went around figuring out how to price for export and utilizing services in that regard. And one of the other big surprises from that session was a company who shared their insurance. The reason insurance is so important, and she shared a big surprise. She had her products on one of the largest container ships disasters of all time. And so in that case, you cannot plan for that, and insurance would be something that would also be very important to have. So yeah, everybody has their story, and every industry has their story. Macarena, can I turn this over to you and just ask you to share with us maybe what are some other programs or other ways that U.S. businesses can connect with potential buyers and partners in your network. I know you have the FDI Air Show coming up, for example. That's one that I've had the pleasure of attending many times. We haven't really talked about trade
Really?
shows or trade missions. So yeah, if you could share with us just other ways businesses
Yeah.
connect with buyers and partners.
Yeah, we promote trade shows in the US and in Chile, of course. In the US, we promote shows and we try to lead a Chilean delegation to that show. That's very useful because we can schedule appointments beforehand. So we accompany the local companies to visit some US companies. So it's been great during the time. And we also promote local shows like FIDAE that you mentioned, that Expo Min, that's the biggest mining show, the second biggest mining show in the world after Mine Expo. So we have a US pavilion there and we arrange meetings, we do an official reception, we do the ribbon cutting ceremony of the US pavilion, of course, and some other minor shows. And we also have trade shows like the one that I have now next week. We are receiving 10 US companies, in this case in cybersecurity industry. So we arrange matchmaking. We are doing 5 meetings per company at the hotel because we are in the transition to the virtual to in-person activity. So and we are giving a briefing industry, arranging a briefing industry given by some experts in the market. We also have a service that I personally love. It's the single company promotion that we customize for each company. It depends on what the company needs. Sometimes we do like breakfast where they can show their products or their services to the local community. They explain to us what companies they would like to have there, and we can promote their services just for them. And of course, the invitation goes from the embassy, from maybe the senior commercial officer. That's a big cut for the companies. So that's a company service that I love. I personally love. It's a lot of work, but it's very good.
Absolutely.
And it's customized to the client's needs. So that's the good thing.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned the single company promotion. It's a really fantastic way to launch a product into a market. I had the opportunity to work on one in our embassy in Rome, and I only found out after the fact that the reason the room was oversold and packed was because the Italians love to visit the US Embassy in Rome because it's an old pink palace with original artwork on the walls that is covered by fabric. It was an amazing success, of course, because we got so many people there. But it is a customized way to launch a product into the market. I've worked on one in Australia in the education sector as well. And it was also, these are amazing, very customized ways to really showcase your company with the embassy or consulate behind you. I thank you for also mentioning international buyer programs or missions where Chileans come to the United States, because for many small and medium-sized companies, international trips are not just going to happen on the regular. And these are these shows where delegations come from other countries to a particular trade show. And I'll highlight the Automotive Aftermarket Industry Week in Las Vegas. It's a specialty, and the Specialty Equipment Manufacturing Association, an automotive industry trade show where we get delegations from all over the world. It's a very popular show that come to this, this automotive show. And then we have a chance to do the briefings and to meet with the delegation and bring them to US companies that are only traveling to Las Vegas, for example, or wherever the show might be. So that is a really a great way to bring bring yourself to a trade show and have a chance to meet with 10 or 15 international delegations. And I really hope that we get to see more of these now that hopefully our pandemic is waning just a bit. These shows have VIP visits. They just really have it all. And the same with the trade missions that Macarena mentioned that she is working on, where there are breakfast briefings and there are matchmaking sessions. And again, it's really fantastic. As Lisa and Susan know, I'm operating on a clock on my computer that is set to some other time in the world, not mine. But I know we're butting up into the question and answer session. So I just have one more question just for Kelly and for Macarena. Kelly, if you could share what advice you might have for women-owned businesses who are interested in finding international customers, but they aren't sure how to get started.
Well, I think I summed it up fairly well. You just have to go to your local commercial services office and you will have all the resources you possibly need. But genuinely, don't be afraid. I mean, it's very intimidating. I understand that, but having those additional resources, there's really no reason not to. And you might be surprised. One of the international markets could be your forte, and it might actually outweigh what you do here in the States. So please explore your international opportunities. It's been a really fun ride, and more products and more women need to expand globally. So please do.
Thank you. And same question for you, Macarena. What advice do you have for women-owned businesses who are interested in finding international customers, but they aren't sure how to get started?
Well, a good document to get started knowing the country is the country commercial guide. That's a very long and nice document, but it has very useful information to get to know the country and to see if you're good for the country. It's for new and not so new companies. So, and like Kelly said, don't be afraid. Ask questions, do the homework, read about the country. I don't know, investigate, be adaptable to the country. And for any company, like in the South America countries, we would like to have like promotional material in Spanish. That's super good for the country.
I like that. Don't be afraid, ask questions, be adaptable, and yes, read, do your research. And thank you for pointing out the country commercial guide. This is available on our export.gov website. There is one that should be no older than 2 years old if we're keeping our cycle of updating those up to speed.
In our case, it's brand new.
Brand new in the case of Chile, so that's great.
Last year, but
yeah.
Yes.
We try to keep those documents fresh and updated, and they are available for just about every country. Lisa, thank you for putting the country commercial guide landing page into the chat. Now, if I read my agenda correctly, and if I can extrapolate what time it might actually be, I think we have some time for questions and answers. And Lisa, I know you were going to help try to guide some of those, or I can go into the chat myself, but appreciate any assist here.
Great. So we had a few questions come in, and I might just read them if that's okay. So this is a question, I believe it's from Kiva Brown. As a logistics company specializing in intermodal and flatbed intermodal services, what advice would you give to us when seeking international customers needing export or import services?
This is for me.
Does anyone who has any advice?
Okay.
And one thing I would say right off the bat is we do have trade specialists all over the world who specialize within every single industry sector. So Kiva, depending where you are, I think the first step might be reaching out to your local commercial service office in your market and just asking to speak with a trade specialist who works within your industry sector to see what they would recommend. And they might end up putting you in touch then with some of our international colleagues like Macarena, if it turns out Chile is the best market for your services.
Yeah, Kelly mentioned the other day that one of the trade commercial specialists gave him like, with the harmonized code, they gave her some good information to start. So that's a good way also.
Great. And that's the market diversification tool as well. So I'll post a link in the chat for that as well. Great. So then we do have another question for Macarena from Michelle. And this is a question about a trade show coming up in Santiago for aerospace and defense. And so it looks like a specific question to learn more about whether or not she can access information about the companies who will be planning to attend an exhibit. And so I might just put her in direct touch with you. But if you had anything more to share about participating in trade shows, would welcome that information as well.
Yeah, about FIDAI, I don't have any, I don't have more information because someone else is handling FIDAI, but I can put her in contact with the person that are working on the trade show. They're doing a great job. Well, FIDAI is every 2 years, I think, or every 4 years, I don't remember now. Like the Expo trade show in Chile, the mining show is every other year. So get in touch with us and we can contact them with the US pavilion organizer.
And I'll weigh in on this one too, just because I have broad experience with FIDAI. I've been to Santiago a number of times and attended this trade show. So for Michelle, I see from the Q&A that you're in Florida. Riot gear, body shields, and helmets that are not export controlled. Just two options for you domestically. I can put you in touch with our aerospace and defense specialist in Florida. It depends on what part of Florida you're in, so please feel free to contact me at diane.mooney@trade.gov afterwards, and I can connect you locally in Florida. And then we do have an aerospace and defense team member heading down to FIDAI to attend the show as well. He is a fluent Spanish speaker as well, which is super helpful, and we'll be working with Isabel Valenzuela at Post in Santiago. So we can do some connecting with you locally, or at least locally, US based side, as well as working on the Santiago side. And I'm very jealous that he gets to go. That's one of my very favorite trade shows in the world. Let's see, Lisa, do we have other questions that are broad that we should try to take at this time?
Yeah, so we had a series of questions. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Well, I saw somebody just mention that she was in Connecticut, her company's in Florida. So it's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be where your company is based and shipping out of with the team you want to work with, correct?
A very good point. We like to work with companies where they are located, but we also understand that companies sometimes might be located in Tacoma, but have a representative in Florida, for example, who is in charge of all the exporting work. And in that case, there are nuances, and we will work that out internally and make sure that they're working with the best international trade specialist. Generally speaking, we will work with you in the location of the business, but understand that there are cases where that does not work out.
Great. So I have a 3-part question. And so we'll start. These are all from Sharon Kim. So here's a question about international intellectual property. So do you have intellectual property set up like trademarks in foreign countries? And that sounds like a good question for Kelly, perhaps.
Well, it's very challenging. We don't have IPs. I mean, all of our IPs are local in the United States. You know, some countries restrict that kind of information. Some companies have, again, every country is very nuanced with what they do and don't do. And it's kind of similar to having map pricing. So it's, if you have a map pricing in the US, you cannot use that in Canada. It's not a thing in Canada. So again, partnering with the local specialist is going to give you your best option, because every industry is very different. And I know especially some of the medical industries and stuff have some very specific requirements in different countries. And our specific product doesn't, but our trademarks aren't as well recognized globally as they are in the US. So.
Great. And then we had a few more questions coming in to get to know the Gold Key service a little bit more. So maybe this is a good question for Macarena. Are the companies that are introduced through Gold Key or matchmaking, are they screened by the US Commercial Service for due diligence before they're introduced to the US clients?
No, due diligence, no, but we used to know the companies and we get in touch with the companies. I like if we get in touch with the company and the web page is not working, we cannot suggest that company because maybe it's not so serious and maybe, yeah, that's, and it depends what the US company is looking for, because if the company, the US company is looking for a big distribution company, distributor, we cannot set up with a small distributors company. So we look for the companies very carefully.
Great. And then another question, since we're on the topic related to the gold key, how does a US company pay for a gold key? And so maybe that's a good one for Diane to describe the process.
Absolutely. If you are interested in a gold key service, you'll work with your local trade specialist who will interface with the overseas office that is appropriate. And once that is agreed upon, we will prepare what we call a participation agreement. And that is an electronic document that we will send to you. And you will pay easily by a credit card. If you don't want to use that, you can call one of our field support specialists and you can pay over the phone in another way, usually a check, but mostly you pay online for that service. And then once you have done that, we will commence working with you officially on that gold key service. I will note too that since we're in these uncertain times, prior to the pandemic, we would have appreciated sort of a 5 to 8 week advance notice. And even in that case, that was not often enough time to prepare it. So I guess the takeaway is as much advance notice as possible on a gold key is required. Every office is different. Some office can deliver it in 3 weeks and it will be amazing, but some offices might need 4 months because they have a backlog of many other gold key services that they're preparing. And then also want to note that in times of very large trade shows in country or in the city that you're interested in, gold keys often will not be available either in conjunction with the show, because it's a great idea. Every company comes up with it, says, oh, I'm going to be at FDI. I would like to have a gold key service while I'm there. But that is not possible at the times of, Medica in Germany, these major trade shows. So just keep that in mind. It is a great idea. Your thinking is exactly right, but it's also something that we cannot execute on because we will be very busy with the trade show in country.
Yeah, and another comment on the gold key, we go with you to every meeting. So that's a good thing also.
That is amazing. They do attend the meetings with you, and then we can also help you arrange for your transportation, and we can help you arrange your hotel and other things that you might need while you're in the country. An interpreter, absolutely, yes.
So,
great. So we had another question. What are the benefits to being part of a US pavilion at a trade show?
A lot. Yeah, you can have like pre-arranged meetings. You are part of the official official reception. Sorry, I'm thinking about all the things. Well, the ambassador always opens the US pavilion. So the ambassador or the deputy chief of mission visits all the companies, especially the new ones at the show. So it's a good opportunity. And you receive counseling and maybe sometimes industry briefing from a local company.
And then I'll just add a couple to that as well. One of the benefits of being
Diane
in the US
is an expert.
I've been around a long time, so I've been at a lot of those. Delegations will come by. So when we're at the Dubai Air Show, for example, official buying delegations will come by the US Pavilion because they want to meet all of the US companies all at one place. And if you're not in the US Pavilion and you're just independently exhibiting elsewhere, they're not going to find you. They're going to come to us to find the US companies. And certainly we can say, oh, and way over there in Hall 3, a mile away, you can go see this other US company. But it's just better to be with the other US companies in a US pavilion. And then we also can do on the spot matchmaking for you, which really actually does happen. I was at the Australian International Air Show, and a company came by looking for something one of our companies did. And I mean, it's delightful to be able to put those things together. And then the other thing that happened once at the Singapore Air Show was one of our little companies, very little company, working mostly out of a shop, an aerospace machine shop in their home. One of the big US defense companies needed something from them. And so this is not an export, but we didn't care. You know, this is a US sale was made at this trade show, and their products did end up on the International Space Station, which to me was just, it goes way back to a lunchtime conversation with just intra-US networking. So there are other tangential benefits to that. And I could talk forever about how that's all good, but I know we are running out of time. So I'm going to, I'm not sure that we have time for any more questions, because we're very we're very sincere about starting and ending on time. I know Macarena has some place to get to. So I am going to just thank everybody for participating today. And I want to encourage you to get in touch with us. We want to work with you. There is no wrong door. And I will just officially turn this over to Susan Gates for some final closing remarks, and with many thanks to you, Susan.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks,
You
everyone.
so much to Kelly for being here, and for Macarena for being here at an incredibly busy time. You can hear just from the description that Diane just made of what it looks like when a office overseas is hosting a big group, and that's what Macarena is looking at, bringing in a big group next week. So thank you so much, Macarena, for your work that you do on behalf of US companies and for everything that you do to support US exporters. And we just super appreciate your work. And Kelly, thank you so much for being such a face of someone who has taken advantage of these opportunities and is growing your business overseas. It's so inspiring, and having just your practical experience of working with an overseas office is just, it really helps make it feel very real and accessible. And we just really appreciate that. And our final takeaway is something I think that has been repeated over and over again in this session and in the previous sessions, is that exporting is attainable. International business is attainable for companies that are big, companies that are small, companies that are everything in between, companies who are just getting started, to long established companies. This is an option for you to help grow your business. And so the final message is get in touch. If you are a company that's looking for another sales channel and thinking about a digital presence, please get in touch with me. We would love to have you on the TheWMarketplace. If you are a company that is looking to start your international business journey, or you're looking for new markets, please get in touch with the US Commercial Service. The contact information is there, and we are excited to hear about your successes. And with that, I am going to stop recording, but with the final message that all of these recordings are available to all of our attendees, and this one in particular will be sent out either later today or tomorrow, depending on when the download is completed. So thank you everyone for joining us. It's been an amazing 4-week series, and get in touch. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you,
Thank
Macarena.
you.
Thank you, Susan,
Thank
for
you.
hosting.
This is
Always